In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different ways of changing into a percent. This is the kind of question that you will see when you'll be required to change something into a percent. And the words here, out of, are really often used, and they're a signal for you to change something into a percent. Now, if I gave a student in my class a test and it was out of 20 and they got 17 out of 20 right, it's unlikely I would write on the top of their paper 17 out, O-U-T, of, O-F, 20. I would probably abbreviate it with something that looks like this. 17 over 20, 17 20ths if you like, or as a fraction. So every time you see out of, it can be written as a fraction. The first number is the numerator and the second number is the denominator. Now this is a fraction, and fractions can be changed into percentages. 17 out of 20 can be easily changed into a percent by recognizing that percentages are just fractions out of 100, and 20, the denominator here, can be changed into 100 by multiplying by 5, and as is the rule with equivalent fractions, whatever you do to the bottom you do to the top, and you will end up with an equivalent fraction. So 17 out of 20 is equivalent to 85 out of 100, and 85 out of 100 is that special fraction that can be written as a percent, 85%. So this is one way where you can change something, a fraction, into a percent. And this is a really fantastic way when you have the situation where the denominator is a factor of 100. So think of your denominators that are factors of 100. 2 goes into 100, 4 goes into 100, 5 goes into 100, 10, not 15, 20 goes into 100, 25 goes into 100, and 50. So if any of those numbers come up as a denominator, or the number after out of, then you can use this strategy to change it into a percent. But I'm more interested in a situation where you don't have something that goes into 100, like 18 out of 32. Now let's face it, in real life, the chances of you ending up with a denominator that are one of those 8 or so factors of 100 are fairly slim. In real life, you're going to have ugly numbers. You're going to have numbers that are not factors of 100. You can even have decimal numbers if you like. This is more likely to happen. So you need a strategy that's going to work in every single circumstance. And this is what I'm going to demonstrate now. Going back to this previous screen, out of, I mentioned to you, 17 out of 20 means that you can write something as a fraction, 17 over 20. What I also want to point out to you is that a fraction is just a fancy way of saying divide by. And if you think about it, if I put a big blotch here and a big blotch here, we here have a big divided by sign. A fraction is just a big divided by sign. It's a signal to say the top number, the numerator, divide by the bottom number. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because this is what we're going to do when we have the situation where our out of number is not a factor of 100. So when we see the out of, we're going to go 18, not out of, but divide by 32. We're going to do that on our calculator. So let me get my calculator out and clear it and say 18 divided by, actually you can see on my calculator it's got a line and not a divide by sign, 32, and I get 0.5625. 0.5625 is the result that I get when I go 18 divided by 32. Now that still doesn't look like a percent, but it's much closer than it was before. Now, if you watched one of the previous videos that I made about changing a percentage into a decimal, you will have remembered that when you see a percentage, you move the decimal point back 2 places, zip zip, to make it into a decimal. Well, we're going to do the exact opposite. we're going to move the decimal point forward 2 places to make it back into a percent. And because we're doing the opposite of zip zip, I use the words piz piz. So to go forward 2 decimal places, piz piz, we end up with 56.25%. If you look back at this percentage, I said that every time you see a percentage, you need to change it directly into a decimal by going zip zip, zip zip, decimal point becomes here, and we've got a 0 in the front, and you can see that's exactly what we started with. So this is the strategy that I'm going to encourage you to use to change something into a percent. Pause the video now, write these 3 questions down and see if you can have a go at changing them into percent yourself. Now throw a little word question in there. Don't fall into any traps that I've set for you. I'm sure that you won't now that I've told you that there's one there. Pause the video, write these down, see how you go changing these into percents. Okay, so how did you go? Let's have a look at the answers. 15 out of 25 becomes 15 divided by 25, which when we put it into the calculator becomes 0.6. Now here's the first of the traps that I set for you. Did you go piz piz and put an extra 0 in the space that was left? I'm hoping that you did, in which case you should have got 60%, and if you did, well done. Pat on the back. 22 out of 31 is 22 divided by 31. I've rounded it off to 4 decimal places. You could probably just do with 3 if you wanted to, but let's just keep it at 4 just to keep things consistent. And we move the decimal forward 2 places, piz piz, and we get 70.97%. We probably could get away with 71% there. It's pretty close. In this last question, I've said, of the 25 students in my maths class, 17 are female. What percentage are female? The first thing I want you to think about there is, how would you answer that? You would say 17 out of 26. Now the trap that I've set for you is that I've put the 26 first in the question and the 17 last in the question. And every other question I've put the numerator, or the first number that we're dividing, first in the question. In this one, I turned it around because I really want you to think about it. So, first of all, make the numbers in the question make sense by using the words out of. 17 out of 26 are female. 17 divided by 26 in the calculator, piz piz, 65.38%. And as you know, word problems always require word answers. 65.38% of the students are female. I'm hoping this video has helped you. Watch some more of my videos.